So in order for you to attract your ideal client, you need to be clear on who your ideal client is. The only way to get clear on your ideal client is to sit down and document, as we were saying earlier in Fiona's session, what your target market is, very similar to who your ideal client is. Your target market will be made up of your ideal client, but much broader, if that makes sense. Yes? So one of the top things that I would recommend your must-dos, if you haven't already got a list, it must be a list, and I'm talking an A4 page that says, this is my ideal client, this is their name, this is how old they are, this is where they work, this is how they interact with me, this is what they wear, this is where they go, these are the hobbies. Then we tie into all of the questions that were on Fiona's slide. Exactly the same thing. Then what do you think you would do with that list? Stick it up on your wall? Absolutely. Where else would it go? Who has employees in this room? Yes? A handful of you? You would have immediately sit down and have a meeting with your employees. This is who I think our ideal client is. What do you think our ideal client is? And then you sit down, you collaborate, because your staff would also have examples of who the ideal client is. Now, if you're not in the front line, as many of you probably aren't, unless you're the salesperson or unless you're the person doing the marketing, you may not be as close to your ideal client. So you need to make sure you engage everybody in your business in this activity, because you're going to get different facets. And this is where I said in business, you don't just agree that that's who my ideal client is today, because guess what? In 12 months' time, they've changed. And this is one of the main factors of businesses really struggling in that 2 to 5 year gap, is that they don't innovate. They don't realise that who my client was is no longer who my client is today. Is that making sense? Really important process. So in your 90-day plan, if you haven't got your ideal client nutted out, it must go in there before you do anything else. Reason being is your marketing revolves around it. The products you create revolve around it. The conversations you and your staff have will revolve around it. You should only be talking about your ideal client.